Hello and welcome to Attention Central Texas. I'm George Harrison, your host today, and we have a great interview set up for you. It's a children's book that has been written and reintroduced and introduced to our social structure. The author is Charles Skeeta Jenkins, and we're just happy to have you here.
Good to be here.
Well, let's just get right into this. And I said this kind of in the manner of introduce and reintroduce because you're a writer. This is not the first piece that you've written, not the first publication you've done. You've done poetry. Mm-hmm. You've got a book out on poetry. What's the name of that book?
The Little Book That Could.
The Little Book. Yeah, I remember. I think of the engine, you know, but The Little Book That Could, and it's really a great collection. And you've been writing how long?
For about 6 years now.
6 years. I know that I've known you since the days at Marihon Baylor, and you received a master's there in counseling, I do believe. And currently you work for a nonprofit organization called A World for Children?
Yeah, A World for Children is based out of Round Rock. It's a foster care agency, and we serve, they have about 11 offices in the state of Texas, and just doing work with taking kids out of bad situations and finding them homes and places for them.
I'm sure you stay quite busy. I hate to even ask you what your caseload look like.
Right now it's small because I just started the job, but it's getting up.
It'll get
I
up
have
there.
about 14, 15 kids now.
That's what you call small. I'll tell you, that is quite an undertaking though. But in all of this that you do, you are quite the artist, and you've written a book, and the name of the book is Believe in Yourself, Bruce.
Yes, sir.
Well, first of all, what inspired you to write the children's book?
Well, I've been, the Lord laid it on my heart. You know, I grew up in a single-parent home, and I had people encourage me, but for my job and other things I do, I see that kids don't have people to encourage them. And I like to rhyme, but I'm not a rapper, so
yeah,
it's a rhyming book, and I just made a story out of it to relate to kids.
Well, I don't know if they have they may have a graphic of it back there in the studio. If not, I'll try to hold it up to the camera before we get out of this and let them see the cover page. And where did you get the idea for the character?
The gentleman that did the illustrations' name is James Flowers, and he's a Christian guy, and we just talked about different things, and I said, James, you know, just whatever the Spirit leads you to do, go ahead with that, and here's what he came up with, a masterpiece.
Well, what is the message? I'm pretty sure, like I say, they have graphics, and then I'll kind of hold the book up here and maybe get a chance to get a shot of it. But the story that's in it, kind of tell me about the storyline that's in here.
It's a story about a little boy who struggles from the 1st grade to the 5th grade and just finding himself, and he's kind of your class clown. And he has a 5th grade teacher who encourages him, and a light goes off and he begins to believe in himself, and he ends up being a doctor in the book. And basically the story is kind of my story because I was Bruce. Yeah,
it was interesting because I asked you, how did you go with the name Bruce? I figured it was kind of you, and you said you couldn't find anything to rhyme with Charles or Skeeta.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's very innovative. I like this, though. Believe in yourself, and the graphics are great. Well, now, are there other children's books you have kind of in the works right now?
Yes, we just finished another book called Never Give Up, Mary Lou, and I'm doing a series. This one is Believe in Yourself, Bruce. The next one is Never Give Up, Mary Lou, and I finished the writing. He doesn't have the illustrations yet for another one called You Can Do It. And they all have different messages. This one is to always believe in yourself. The book about Never Give Up, Mary Lou is to never give up, and kind of we all need encouragement.
It all kind of fits into your ministry with the foster care, because I'm sure you run across a lot of children that have dismal situations, and they're trying to either believe in themselves, or they're trying to better themselves and never give up, are trying to achieve some things. I noticed that you are a motivational speaker. Tell us about that.
Yes, for the past couple years I've been traveling back and forth to Louisiana, which is my home state, Baton Rouge, back and forth, just going into schools and going into churches, just motivating kids to, and parents to believe in themselves.
Well, you know, you met in Baton Rouge, man. I've kind of gone through there several times, but the food is excellent. I'm not down in Texas. I love Tex cooking, boy, I tell you. But it's some great food down that way. What are some of the subjects that you cover when you talk to them about motivational issues?
I talk to the main subject I talk to the kids about is you know, a lot of kids want to be like somebody else.
Right.
And I tell the kids, you don't have to be like me because God created you different. Take some characteristics that I have and make the best you can make.
Well, how do you I know you do, how do you incorporate your books into what you are speaking to the adults and the children about?
I've been mainly speaking to kids from 2nd grade to 12th grade, and the 2nd graders through 5th grade kind of get it, but when I get in 6th through 12th, I let them know, you know, even though it's a children's book, don't focus on the rhyming and that it's a children's book, focus on the message. And the message is to always believe in yourself and to never give up. And nobody can beat you at being your best.
That is so true, just to be yourself and not be influenced by peer pressure and other things that take place. In your speaking engagements, what type, if you had to pick a story out that you say really blessed you, you know, from what you got through speaking, and maybe one of the children or an adult came to you and said, look, this is really something that did X help me in this area, what would you pick as a moment of really excellence?
Well, I was held back in the 1st grade and I failed the 5th grade from just being silly in class.
Now you have a master's and
yes.
You could work on your doctorate. Okay, we're just gonna get that real clear.
Yeah, but and it's the main part of the message is to show kids it's not how you start, but it's how you finish. And people look at me now and say, you know, there is a God, because I gave my teachers the runaround growing up. But
this looks like a little mischievousness going on there in the front of that. Those eyes shifted to the side. You got your eye on something and you ready to go. But you can make it. Single parent home, held back in the 5th grade, got into a little trouble, you know, in school, just acting out. But kind of sound like Judge Mathis a little bit, you know, on the. You ever seen him on TV? Yeah, he said he went through a hard time. I think he lived in Chicago or somewhere up in there. But it can be done.
Yes, sir. Dr. Harrison, those are the things that make us who we are. You know, going through the tough things. And I tell the kids you have 2 decisions to make when you go through stuff. You can choose to be bitter, angry, and hate life and hate school, or you can choose to be better and ask yourself the question, what can I do better in this situation to improve myself? And the Lord has blessed me with, you know, never did drugs, never did any of that stuff. Now there were times when I was tempted to do it, but it was something that He has instilled in me that I never did it. And I always used to work and for the money I wanted, because I know my mom couldn't afford a lot of stuff that we wanted. But the main goal is to not let your circumstances determine where you're going to end up.
So true. You can overrun your circumstances by just keeping moving forward. Keep moving forward. I like the part about the inspirational issue. How do you feel when you get inspired with a book? I carry a little digital recorder, a little 4 gig recorder around with me. You know, I write music, and so if I get an idea, I turn it on so I won't forget it. I'm older than you. You know, I'm not trying to say now. But what do you do when you get an idea? Do you just stop and you write it down as an inspiration, or you stay with you and you go someplace quiet and write it down? How do you?
That's basically how I do it. I'll get. You know, I wake up 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning with the idea that the Lord's laid on my heart, and I'll just jot it down. And I do it, people may think this odd, but I go through the alphabet. If you give me a word, I go through the alphabet and see what all words rhyme with that word, and then I put a story together.
Unbelievable, because it is a rhyming, it is a rhyming book, and it's unbelievable, the story that you have put together and the graphics. There once was a boy named Bruce whose nickname was Goose. He liked to read Mother Goose, Dr. Zeus, and drink orange juice. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. I love it.
And kids can relate to that.
Sure, they can.
After I read the book, a coworker of mine actually in Round Rock when I started, she said, after you read a page, ask the kids, you know, who has a nickname. Because, you know, my nickname is Skeeta, and ask who has a nickname. And then when I get to that page, ask kids, who was a silly goose in your class? you know, and it's just, and kids can relate to that. It's more on a personal level with them.
Well, I want to ask you, we got about 2 or 3 minutes, but I want to ask you, in your life, I know that you are really excel in athletics and academics. The ring you got on your finger, that kind of symbolizes part of your athletics, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What is that for now?
That is from Mary Horton Baylor.
Yeah.
Even though I wasn't on one of the championship teams, coach still allowed me to get a ring. So
yeah, that's wonderful. Got a great coaching staff over there. But how does your positive, and I'm going to jump ahead of the game, positive attitude, how much does it play a role in success in life? Because that's exactly what you have, it's a positive attitude.
And I'm glad you say that. That is the key right there, because when stuff happens, again, you have 2 decisions to make. You can become bitter or you can become better. And I chose to become better. Because when you choose that route of becoming bitter, it doesn't hurt anybody else but the person who's becoming bitter. So everybody, kids, parents, if you're listening to this, encourage them that there's no limit to what they can do or accomplish if they believe in themselves.
So true, and with the positive attitude.
And with the positive attitude.
Because nobody really has to have you around.
No.
People don't realize it. The Staple Singers, you're probably too young. Remember the Staple Singers?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know. You're kind of young. But they wrote a song called Respect Yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the lines says, if you walk around thinking that the world owes you something because you're here, take the sheet off your face, boy, it's a brand new day. Meaning nobody owes us anything simply because we exist. We work for it.
Yep.
You mentioned several things in the upbringing of your life. You worked, you had a single parent home, you acted out a little bit, but you chose to do better.
Yes.
Give us a final word here, if you would, of encouragement to parents and kids alike. And first of all, let's talk about this. How do they get hold of your book? If they want to buy your book, how much is it? And we've been talking about this, but let's talk about the part of how they get their hands on your book.
Well, this book here, I self-published myself, so I have all of the copies. I gave my email address. It's skeetarock85@sbcglobal.net, and they can also call me, 254-466-5704. Again, that's 254-466-5704. And I want to leave them with the message. Parents, encourage your children that potential is like a spark. It only takes encouragement, support and encouragement from an adult to cultivate that spark into a flame, which has the ability to light a child's path. And it's so true. And words.
So true. Well, we've just got a few seconds left. What a great book. Believe in yourself, Bruce. One of the great books, Building Self-Esteem and positive attitude. And thank you again. We just helped Charles Skeeta Jenkins to move forward in this ministry. How much is the book?
$10.
$10. That's worth it. It is well worth it. Call Charles Skeeta Jenkins, the author. Believe in Yourself, Bruce is the book. The book is $10. What a great ministry. It'll be a help to you and your children. Again, our guest is Skeeta Charles Jenkins, and we thank you.
Thank you.
This has been Attention Central Texas. I'm George Harrison. Have a great day.